on Christmas Day, I posted on Instagram a picture of my skinned up knee, with just a little bit of explanation about what happened to said knee. If you will allow, I now will provide full detail about what could have, maybe should have been far worse than it actually turned out to be, which was still pretty bad. As I've mentioned before, I do 1 hour of cardio exercise every single day. That's running on the treadmill, occasionally running outside, and sometimes riding an upright stationary bike inside. Never miss 1 hour every single day. Weekends are actually the opposite of off days for me, because Saturday I go pretty hard on the treadmill, and Sunday is my all-out run day on the treadmill. Sometimes outside, but mostly on the treadmill. I try to break my record every Sunday for how far I can go in 1 hour on the treadmill, which is usually a little over 6 treadmill miles. Outside, it's more. It's 8 outside. I don't really understand how the treadmill measures, but it's 6 on my treadmill, and I am flying. So, of course, this past Sunday fell on Christmas Day, which meant that that Sunday was business as usual on the treadmill. So after Ernestine and Hazel, our little Maltese, and I had our quote-unquote Christmas, it was abbreviated, we exchanged our gifts and our cards. I did continue watching Packers at Dolphins while I stretched in preparation for my hardest run of the week on the treadmill. And yes, by the way, the game did stay on with no sound through our gift and card opening. Ernestine said, "Does it have to stay on?" I said, "I warned you." There's only one TV in our living room, or I would have had on at the same time LeBron at Luka, also without the sound. Yet, just for the record, in my career, I cannot remember a more messed up Christmas Eve and Christmas Day than these two, because of the heavy NFL slate on both days, including the biggest game Cowboy-wise of my year, obviously on Saturday. And because Christmas Eve fell on Saturday and Christmas Day on Sunday, I got no day off for Christmas. I pretty much got Scrooged. So I finally got on the treadmill, maybe mid-third quarter of Aaron Rodgers at Tua. And as quickly as my body and psyche could take it, I kept pushing the button up towards 7 miles per hour, which is usually about my top speed. There'll be some times at the end of the run, maybe the last 5 minutes, I'll try to push it up to 7.2 or 3 if I'm feeling really good. But for me, 7.0 is flying. I try to reach that speed maybe 15 minutes into the 1 hour run, and I try to hold on for dear life, which, trust me, is no fun until it's over. Then it's really fun. Until then, it can be torture, as you probably know. I usually fare better psychologically when I have a game to watch, as opposed to just some random movie that I might flip around on and might or might not hold my attention. But I can get lost in a game, especially games of magnitude like last Saturdays and Sundays. So Sunday, as I got faster and faster, I was flipping back and forth between Packers and Lakers. Just one TV there in my little TV room, TV nook, exercise nook. And I was increasingly in awe of how hot the Mavericks got in their 51-point third quarter, and how not Tua got in his third quarter as he went haywire and threw 3 second half interceptions. Now it sounds like he was concussed. But faster and faster I ran, and more I forgot where I was and what I was doing. So I decided on the fly to try texting Wayne congrats while I was running from the phone that was resting on my treadmill console. Really bad idea. Understand, I have often successfully texted while running on that same treadmill much more slowly on weekday mornings between 2:30 and 3:30 a.m. When I jog, I don't run. Much slower pace, which makes texting much safer. But you know me, I have to push everything to the limit. So I thought, surely I can pull this off. I opened my phone, I tried to steady myself, and I tried to type with just my forefinger, and it happened. My left toe somehow caught on the belt as it came forward, and I lost my balance. And I experienced a split second of sheer horror and terror, of utter shell shock, as the reality set in sort of weird slow motion, that in the next tenth of a second, I was going to fall. I was going to hit the belt to the treadmill, and I was going to be bounced backward off the treadmill and onto the floor, which is carpeted, so I'd have a shot. But just understand, I've been running on treadmills around the world for 40 years. Not once have I ever fallen. Not one single time. Friends have told me the last couple of days, boy, they're really dangerous. I never thought about any danger of falling on a treadmill. But now I was falling. Yet, in the next tenth of a second, slow motion, it hit me that my daughter, quote unquote Hazel, my 6-year-old, 10-pound Maltese, love of my life, was, as always, sleeping in her little pink bed at the very end of the treadmill. Every time I set foot on the treadmill, she follows me right to it. She gets in her bed and goes to sleep. I'm assuming this sort of rhythmic running, that sort of metronome feel, puts her right to sleep. She seems to love it. But I suddenly flashed on, flying straight backward. What do I weigh? 165 pounds, right onto sleeping Hazel. Would I crush her? Would I break some of her bones? Would I damage her head? Would I hurt her badly? And somehow, I'm still not sure how this happened, because it happened so fast but so slowly. I grabbed onto the treadmill handles beneath the console, and I hung on for dear life, her life. The treadmill ripped my feet right out from under me, and my right knee went all the way down onto that hard rubber belt, which I could feel scrape and burn the knee. I felt both my feet flying backwards. I could feel my left knee, the opposite knee, wrenching underneath me, but it did not go down and get burned. And yet I hung on with all my might until, I don't know how this happened, but I somehow pulled my body weight back up, because it helps that I do lift, never miss a lift. I pulled my feet back up against the roaring belt until I got little toe holds on each of the metal sides that run along the belt. Finally, I regained my balance, but not my wits. I was in shock. I was also afraid to look at my knee, which was feeling like it had been set on fire. But Hazel, she had bolted her bed, and as I looked over my shoulder, she was now standing maybe 20 feet away, looking at me as if to say, what in the name of Lassie just happened to you? I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have crushed her if I'd fallen on her. Maybe she was even quicker than I thought. Maybe she would have bolted before I hit. But I just stood there for maybe 5 minutes, listening to the belt whir underneath me. Then I heaved a sigh. I finished my text to Wayne. I sent it. I turned off the treadmill. I got a drink of water. I tried to figure out how hurt I was. But then, you know me, I got right back on the treadmill. I hit start again. I had 16 minutes left up to the hour that I always run. Hazel, bless her soul, crawled right back into her bed and went right back to sleep. I did not get back up to 7.0. I did get to 6.2. I hung in. I finished my few minutes that I had left, which seemed like another hour. Sunday night, I realized that my problem is really my left knee that hurts the most. I did wrench it pretty badly. It got very sore and remains very sore. So is my right hip, weirdly. It's almost like I was in some sort of like car crash. I've been icing my knee every night. I bombard it with Voltaren gel, anti-inflam. I'm popping Motrin. Haven't run this week. Stayed on the upright exercise bike. No running yet. I don't know. I think, at least I hope, that my knee's not going to need yet another surgery. I hope I'll be okay. But I did learn my lesson. Never again will I try to text at full speed on the treadmill. But what I can't get out of my head, as I turn what happened over and over in my head to this moment, is Hazel. It's just hard to explain to you. It's hard to publicly admit this, acknowledge this, just how much she has come to mean to me. She was supposed to be Ernestine's dog. And now that little girl has changed my life. I hope you enjoyed that video. You ready for more? Make sure you click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from the Skip Bayless Show. And don't forget to check out the full episode of the show wherever you get your podcasts by clicking the link in the description.